But there's one fundamental theme that in my mind runs through this, and it all leads down to three basic causes, or three essential causes. Iran, Iran, and Iran. And Syria, which we basically ignored 3+ years ago when we probably could have done something more significant in terms of arming one of the militia to maybe mitigate the impact or mitigate what's happened now. We chose not to do that. Who is the primary benefactor of Assad in the region outside of Syria? Iran. Who is the primary benefactor of Hezbollah that continues to cause all that unrest in southern Lebanon? And I'll bet it's Iran. And who is responsible for supplying some of the improvised explosives devices, the technology and the capability to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq? Iran. Who's got more influence today in Baghdad with Maliki? More influence than the President of the United States and the Congress of the United States? The mullahs in Iran. So I don't care how you draw the map, I dare say that in just about every place in that region, every venue, it's Iran. As the #1 terrorist state, it seems to be much more a cause than a country, but that's, perhaps historians will reflect on that and draw a different conclusion. We need to focus on Iran. And why do we need to focus on Iran? Twofold purpose. I'm here today because I don't think there's any more important purpose than the United States of America to keep its commitment to the men and women, the residents of Camp Liberty. A commitment that's 10 years old, a commitment that probably looks pretty stale to the men and women that are there, the men and women that we can go back time and time again. It looks like we've either ignored or we've retreated. Mrs. Hariri, the wife of the assassinated prime minister, probably traced back to Iran, by the way, once told me, in my part of the world, it's better to be respected than liked. We're neither over there right now. So that creates a problem for us. So we go back to the war-weary country that does not want to put soldiers. So what do we do? What do we ask the administration to do? What do we ask Congress to urge the administration to do? We ask them to understand the reality in Iraq as it exists today. The other thing I must tell you that I watch the news commentators, and I try not to watch it too often, is that the problem in Iraq is ISIS. Oh, they're there. They've expressed their interest in creating the caliphate, but at the end of the day, if you're really interested in trying to figure out what you need to do today, you need to pay attention to what's transpired the past 4 years. He lost the election, but our State Department made sure he still held the office, and that's Maliki. And the quid pro quo we extracted, the promise we extracted from him, we'd build a national unity government. We're going to have the tribes. We're going to have the Sunnis. We're going to pull everybody in. And for some reason, we believed him in spite of everything else that he had done previous to that. And what has happened since that period of time? There's no unity government. As a matter of fact, as soon as he got in his office, he started moving in the other direction. And I dare say I haven't been on the ground over there. We'd go in a heartbeat if they let me. But I bet you if you talk to tribal chiefs and most of the Sunni leaders, they'd say, what happened to the unity government? And more importantly, why is he and his militia and his army, supported by the Quds Force and supported by Iran, on several occasions repressed in a violent way those who objected his usurpation of power in Baghdad? He's the prime minister of the Green Zone. He's not prime minister of the entire country. Why? Because he made a promise to the Iraqi people that he didn't keep. In the irony of ironies, we made sure that he retained power, even though in the course of election he didn't pick up the majority of seats. Shameful. Irreversible right now, so what do we do? Well, we'd like to call on the press in this country and everybody commenting on it to take a look at the history of the past 3 years and just don't look at ISIS as the rationale or the reason behind all the unrest. The tribal chiefs, the Sunni leaders, are frankly at odds and at war with a repressive Shia-dominated, Iranian-supported government. So let's understand that. Let's quit asking us, should we use our Air Force to support an Iranian-led effort by the Maliki government to bomb innocents and to bomb Sunnis, whom we said at one point in time support Maliki because he's going to bring you into a unity government? I don't think so. So what else should we do? First, I would really wish that members of the House and the Senate would be more vocal in their opposition to Maliki's sustaining authority and power. They ought to just call for his ouster. So he has to go. And we must call for a unity government that includes the tribal chiefs and the Sunni leaders. It has to be the Kurds. It has to be a unity government. Whether or not that happens, you and I can't do that. Only the President and Congress can elevate their voices, sing from the same song sheet, and say, as Americans who've spilled blood and treasure for a long time in that region, that's what we want. We supported you in 2010. You violated our trust. You broke the confidences you shared with us. You broke the promises you shared with the Iraqi people. Out. Second thing we need to do is we need to focus back on our friends and the patriots and the dissidents at liberty. Because the State Department, the United States Department of State, on multiple occasions, with several of my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, academic community, military community, intelligence community, law enforcement community, my Department of State said, we will have a regular presence at liberty. The United Nations said we will have a regular presence at unity. Both of them said we will do everything if they move from Ashraf to liberty to expedite their resettlement. And promise after promise after promise continues to be broken. I sound like a broken record, and I apologize. People that deserve the apology are the people in liberty, because they trusted us, because we trusted our own government. So a lot of us take this personal. They may not be worried about their credibility and their word, but we worry about ours. And all of you know the incredible group of men and women that are committed to this effort. And then we'll let Iran and figure out whether it wants to be a cause or a country. Right now, it's the source of all evil in that region, and it is the greatest threat to the life and liberty of the men and women at Camp Liberty. Quite an irony, isn't it? Thank you very much.